Egyptian appeals court orders a retrial for 3 jailed Al Jazeera journalists. 35 people are killed and 48 injured in a Shanghai stampede on New Year's Eve. Lithuania joins the Eurozone, hoping to boost its economy. And the US condemns Abbas for applying to join the International Criminal Court a day after the UN Security Council rejected the Palestinian statehood bid. Good afternoon, I'm Shachar Peled, you're watching i24 News. An appeals court in Egypt has ordered a retrial for the 3 Al Jazeera journalists arrested and imprisoned in December 2013. This new ruling acknowledged acute problems with the original verdict, and the new trial is to take place within a month, while Mohammed Fadel Fahmy, Bahir Mohammed and Peter Grest remain in custody. Today's hearing reportedly took just minutes to discuss their June jail sentencing. One of the defendants' lawyers addressed the crucial hearing.
We said that the verdict hit essential points for the defense. The most important thing is that the verdict considered in a routine manner that Al Jazeera channel is part of the Muslim Brotherhood. Therefore, if you work for Al Jazeera, you are a member of the Muslim Brotherhood. If you are holding film material for Al Jazeera, then you are a part of the Muslim Brotherhood, which is not true. Al Jazeera is not part of the Muslim Brotherhood. Therefore, the verdict is a grave mistake.
Now, a new video officially released by Syria shows President Bashar al-Assad making a rare visit to army troops in eastern Damascus. Assad came to the Jobba district on Wednesday as clashes continue between government forces and rebels in the outskirts of the Syrian capital. Assad reportedly thanked the soldiers and said their victory remains the greatest hope for the new year. In China, at least 35 people were killed and 43 injured during New Year's Eve celebrations in Shanghai. Among the fatalities were 25 women and 10 men aged between 16 and 36. According to Chinese officials, large crowds began to stampede in Chenyi Square just before midnight. An emergency meeting was held last night while an official inquiry began. It is not clear yet what triggered the tragic stampede, as China beefed up its security measures in the popular tourist region.
It's too cruel. People in front of us had already fallen to the ground. People were stepping all over them. It wasn't an urgent occasion like a terrorist attack, where you need to run to save your life. People just needed to leave the site. We felt death so close to us last night. We were horrified.
We move to South Korea, where an official stated that his country is looking forward to resume talks with North Korea. This call is made in response to Kim Jong-un's New Year's address, in which he indicated he did not rule out a summit with neighboring South Korea. His statements follow a recent proposal from Seoul to resume dialogue, which will result, among other issues, in family reunions of those separated by the 1950s Korean War. The last round of such formal high-level talks was held in February 2014.
If South Korean authorities sincerely want to improve relations between North and South Korea through talks, we can resume stalled high-level meetings. If the atmosphere and environment is there is no reason not to hold a high-level summit with South Korea. We will make every effort to advance dialogue and cooperation.
And now moving to Europe, Lithuania has become the 19th member of the Eurozone, following Estonia and Latvia. It is the last of the three Baltic states to join the currency union. By joining the Eurozone, Lithuania seeks to achieve a wider guarantee for its security amid fears of Russian intervention, as the 3 million nation is home to various Russian minorities. The euro is Lithuania's fourth currency in 25 years, after the Soviet ruble, the talonas and the litas.
The euro will be our guarantee for both economic and political stability. It will allow us to develop quicker a lively economy, which will create new workplaces, improve incomes. I strongly believe that we will strengthen the euro family. We are at the pinnacle of the EU's growth leaders. We come in with determination, consolidation, and energy to strive for our set goals. We bring in strong feelings of partnership and solidarity.
And now the US condemned Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas for signing 22 international agreements yesterday in an effort to join the International Criminal Court. The move, which would allow the Palestinians to lead a war crimes probe against Israel, was criticized by the US State Department, which called it, quote, a harmful act which does not promote the Palestinian statehood aspirations. This comes a day after the UN Security Council rejected the Palestinians' proposal for statehood, which called for Israel to withdraw to the pre-1967 lines by late 2017. In response, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that Israel will block the Palestinian attempt to force further dictates on the country. Meanwhile, Abbas pledged to push forward on securing the rights of the Palestinian people.
They don't want to give us our right. The right is not given, the right is taken. We have to work on getting our right. The Security Council is not the end of the world, and this last session last night, you certainly stayed up for it, not the end of the path. We have what we have to say, and we have what we have to do, starting from tonight.
And as the Palestinians promote their statehood aspirations, children in the Gaza Strip continue to face a personal battle. They attempt to overcome the trauma and psychological damage caused by the ongoing violence and past summer's Operation Protective Edge. More in the following report.
The aftermath of an Israeli missile attack on the 16th of July 2014. Shells hit a beach in the Gaza Strip where Palestinian children were playing. 11-year-old Muntasa survived, but his brother and 3 of his cousins were killed. 5 months later, he's still haunted by the memory and filled with hate for those responsible.
I dream of taking a Kalashnikov and attacking them. I want to shoot them because they killed my brother.
About 500 Palestinian children were killed during the 7 weeks of Israeli bombardment, which was launched to destroy Hamas tunnels and rocket facilities. Those who survived their physical injuries are left with emotional scars, which are harder to see and more difficult to heal.
He tied a rope and brought it into the living room to hang his cousins. If we hadn't seen, he would have strangled them. He doesn't even know what he's doing.
Children as young as 6 years old have already lived through 3 wars in Gaza. Volunteer groups are trying to help some of these children come to terms with their trauma.
They have nightmares, they cry at night, they want to sleep in the same bed as their parents. They feel frightened and useless. Suddenly, children of 5 years old start speaking like babies, so we try to give them some stability.
Half of Gaza's 2 million inhabitants are under 14 years old, and there's not enough rehabilitation for these children who are growing up with the scars of war.
At least 20 Afghan civilians were killed by army mortar shells while attending a wedding in the southern province of Helmand. Army officials confirmed artillery was fired from 3 directions at a village in Sangin district where the wedding was held. According to the United Nations, at least 3,188 civilians were killed during the war with Taliban insurgents in 2014 alone, making it the deadliest year on record for non-combatants' fatalities. And 2 more bodies were found in the AIRASIA search, thus making the total death toll so far 9 people. Search and rescue teams continued their joint air and underwater operations, with efforts resuming today after local weather has improved temporarily. Yesterday, the first bodies found arrived at Surabaya, where relatives awaited. So far, the aircraft's recorders, or black boxes, have yet to be recovered, as air safety officials claim it could take another week to trace them. And nearly 1 million people gathered last night at New York's Times Square for the city's annual New Year's Eve festivities. The celebrations were slightly hampered by 100 protesters who called against local police brutality, yet Mayor Bill de Blasio still presided over the traditional ball drop, after which confetti rained on the celebrating crowd. As Frank Sinatra's classic New York, New York was playing, we leave you with these images and wish you a happy 2015.